Giselle, why are you crying?
Because I hate I have to talk about this. I hate I have to be here, and I hate I have to talk about this. And I thought it was something once it was done I'd never have to talk about it again. And every time I talk about it, it just doesn't ever feel like it's real.
I understand. You need to take a break yourself?
No.
Now, your daughter was 6, and you were described a little earlier. Would you ever get to pick her up from school any day?
No, because like I said, I worked in the office, so the incident that occurred, it was just one day that I was able to actually get off work early and get the opportunity to pick her up from school and bring her home.
Let's talk about that day, May 11, 2016. Can you tell me how that day started?
It started with me going to work. I usually drop my daughter off at school every single morning, and then once I drop off at school, or if I have to be at work a little earlier, I drop off at her grandma's house. But this particular day, I was able to drop her off at school and then go directly to work.
And what car did you have back then?
I had a Toyota Corolla.
What color was it?
It was black.
Was it 2 or 4 doors?
It was 4-door.
When did you get that car?
Oh, I can't even recall when I actually got the car, but it was the first car I was able to get for myself on my own. But I can't recall when I actually bought the car.
That makes sense. So you take your daughter to school in your Toyota Corolla. Around what time did you have to drop her off?
It usually would be about 7:30 in the morning.
And obviously May 11th, it's almost summertime, but is she still in school on that day?
Yes.
And after you dropped her off at school, what did you do? Did you go to work? Or what did you do?
I would go to work.
And how far was where you worked from her school?
Like I said, with the traffic, it'd be like an hour and a half. My goal would always try to get there no later than 9 o'clock.
And when you first headed to work that day, what was the plan in your mind for picking her up later that day?
I was gonna work a full day. The plan was just like how it normally was. I was just gonna pick her up either from her grandmother or her grandmother would drop off at the house depending on traffic.
Now, you went into work working on the planning a full day. What day did you end up working that day?
I actually was able to work a shorter day that day. So my job was like, hey, you can go ahead and go home and work your last few hours at the house. And I was like, okay, perfect.
Was that a pleasant surprise?
Yes.
And when you got released early, did you go and pick up your daughter?
Yes.
Do you know roughly around what time you would have picked her up?
It would have been about 2:30 around that time.
And after you picked her up, would she have been sitting in the front seat, the back seat? Where would she sit?
In the back seat.
And did y'all go straight home or where'd you go?
Straight home.
Do you know around what time you got home?
It had to be about 2:30, 2:45 because the school is literally right around the corner from the house. So it's not far at all.
Was it daylight?
Yes, it was day.
Was it raining or anything that
No,
day?
it was sunny day.
Now, at a Ball Drive, do you have assigned parking spots or can you park anywhere?
You have assigned spots.
And I'm going to show you I'm going to publish what's already been admitted as 8 Victor. Ms. Hill, do you recognize or see your assigned parking spot in 8 Victor?
Yes, it's spot 7.
Spot 7? And what door was yours in this picture?
It's the door straight ahead, not to the left, but on the right.
Straight behind spot 7?
Yes.
And now, so Ms. Hill, I know it's a little different. Do you back in or do you pull in front? Like, did you back in your spot or pull in?
I pulled in.
You pulled in? Okay. So your headlights would have been facing the front of the apartment? And after you pulled in, would you have had to help your daughter get out of the car?
No. She would have got out. She got out herself. She always got out herself. And she goes to the front door when she gets out the car and waits for me until I get out the car, getting my stuff.
She gets out first and goes to the front door.
Mm-hmm.
And so you pull into your spot 7, park. What is the first thing that you noticed, or did you notice anything on?
No. I was just grabbing my stuff out the car. I had my purse that I was getting out of the car. My laptop was in the back. So I hadn't got the opportunity to grab that yet. But I had grabbed my purse. And I was getting out of the car to get ready to go open the door because she was already standing at the door.
Ms. Hill, what was that, your personal or work laptop?
It was my work laptop.
And what all did you have in your purse that day?
What I shouldn't have had: my social security card, driver's license, my cell phone, of course my wallet that had all my debit cards and stuff in it. My insurance cards, everything that you normally would carry in your purse.
And what kind of purse did you have back then?
It was the first little name brand purse I ever had. It was a brown Michael Kors purse.
All right. You get out, you have your purse, and then what did you notice first after you get out with your items? What did you see next?
I just remember this kid walking up to me, and he had a gun to my head. And I did notice my daughter crouched down behind the bush that was in front of the house. I don't know if it's still there. And I just remember him saying, "Give me your keys." So I gave him my keys. And then after he took my keys, he got into my car from the passenger side and crawled over into the driver's side. And then another gentleman in the car, because the car that he pulled up in that was behind me, it had 4 individuals initially with the young man who got out. But then another older gentleman got out the car with a gun to my head, and he asked for my purse because the kid didn't initially ask for my purse. He only had asked for the keys. So the second gentleman who got out of the car with a gun asked for my purse because it was over my body.
Now, Ms. Hill, I want to unpack some of that. What car did the suspect get out of?
I just know it was a gold car. It was like I couldn't tell you the actual car. I just know it was a gold, older, like a old person car, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. When you first saw him, was he already outside of the car, or was he inside?
No, he was already outside of the car. He was walking up to me.
And how quickly was he approaching you?
I wasn't counting the seconds. It was so fast. I wasn't counting.
When did you first see his gun?
He was walking up to me with the gun.
What kind of gun was it?
I can't tell you the type of gun it was.
Was it a handgun, a shotgun, a long gun?
It was a handgun.
Did you see any color of the gun?
It was black.
And how close did he, when he pulled the gun, how close did he put it?
He was right up on me with the gun.
And what was it that he said?
Give me your keys.
And what was your initial reaction when all of this happened?
I just remember I had urinated on myself. And I remember I just handed him the keys, and I remember saying, "Well, can I at least get my house key?" Because, there was no way for me to even be able to get in the house. I was just standing here. That was the initial reaction. And I literally was in shock because I couldn't believe that was happening. It just didn't seem real.
Did he have any reaction when you asked him that?
None.
Now, Ms. Hill, do you wear glasses or contacts?
I wear contacts.
And were you wearing glasses or contacts that day?
I was wearing my contacts.
And was the suspect who approached you and robbed you, was he wearing a mask?
No,
Was he wearing any type of hood or hat on his head?
no,
Was there anything covering up his face?
no,
Did he do anything to conceal his identity?
no.
And how would you describe him? Was he young, old? What did he look like?
He was a young kid. He was really young.
What was his race and what was he wearing?
He was black. I can't remember what he was wearing. He was just a black young kid, but I know exactly who he was.
You had mentioned earlier there was a second individual who got out. Was that second individual older or younger than the first driver?
He was older guy.
And when did you, can you describe what this second individual did when you first saw him?
The second individual, because he was coming up after the younger individual got in the car, he just asked me for my purse when he came up to me, because I guess he saw that the younger individual didn't take my purse as well along with the car. So he just made sure to get my purse.
And did he have a gun on him as well?
Yes.
And what was he doing with the gun?
But he had the gun to my head as well.
And was it a handgun, shotgun, or long gun, or what type of gun?
It was a handgun.
And what, after you gave, so what was it again that the second suspect asked you?
For my purse.
And did you give him your purse?
Yes.
What did he do after he grabbed your purse?
He left and got in the car that they initially all came in.
And was this second individual, was he wearing a mask?
No.
Was he wearing anything to conceal his face?
No.
Now, after they take these items, where did these cars go? I'm going to publish, Your Honor, State's Exhibit 7, Victor. All right. So this may help. I'm going to publish a photograph.
Okay.
So in this, you can use the cars that are parked here. Where would your car have been in relation to these?
My car would have been in spot 7 in front of the door I initially pointed out in the photo. And the cars were in this direction, so they were going this way. So they exited out to the left because you could curve around and go back out to the main road that way.
That makes sense. So they were going from, you tell me, were they not going from blue Mercedes to white BMW to that gray car on the end? Yeah,
they were going from the blue Mercedes to the BMW that's on the end, and they left out that way.
I'm going to publish also, publishing was already been admitted as 8 Victor. Or excuse me, 6 Victor. Is this what you were describing, Ms. Hill?
Yes.
And where does this road, if you were to take this to the end and go left, what does that take you out on?
It takes you back out onto, it's still the neighborhood, so it takes you back out to that road, but when you make a right, it takes you back out to the main road.
And do those two vehicles leave together?
Yeah.
So after they leave, were there any neighbors you saw outside?
Yes.
And was this the neighbor that you had referenced earlier today?
Yes, because her son watched that's kind of the same, well, that's close in age to my daughter. When the incident happened, he was watching the entire time the incident take place.
So your neighbor and her son, you're saying, were outside as well?
Yes, so I didn't realize they were outside because when the incident happened, they were behind me in a different in the parking spot behind me. And so her son, because like we said, it was a school day. So her son, I'm guessing she had just picked her son up from school. He was standing watching what was happening while his mom was in the car. I didn't see what the mom was doing, but she wasn't looking in the direction of the incident that was taking place. But he was standing there watching the kid, what was happening.
And was your phone, did you have your phone on you after this?
Well, he took my phone, it was in my purse, so.
Were you able to call 911?
I had to use my neighbor's phone.
And did you in fact use her phone to call 911?
Yes.
And how long, did anyone respond? Did any police come out?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What
Yes.
agency responded? Was it?
APD?
And how long after you called did they come?
I feel like it was quick enough. I couldn't tell you the time, the amount of minutes. I felt like it was quick enough.
That's perfectly fair. Now, after they arrived, what did they do once officers came out there to speak?
They came out, they took my statement to, to see what happened. I know that they were asking me my license plate number, which I was so in shock, I couldn't remember anything really. I know that they were asking me my license plate number, and my significant other at the time, he had a spare key to the house. So I had to call him because he was working right up the street. And when he came to open the door, we were able to find like an oil change paper that had my license plate number on it. So we were able to give that information to give to the police officer so they could try to find my car.
And back then, after you gave them the description of the car, did the officer you were talking with, did he stay with you on scene?
Yes.
Did you ever learn if anyone was apprehended?
Yes.
Was that officer still with you?
Yes.
What happened after, can you kind of describe that, how you learned that?
I just remember them saying they found my car and they wanted me to come with them to where the car was. And when I got there, that's when I saw the young individual who had pulled the gun on me first. So
How did you get over there to the scene where he was arrested?
in the police car.
And where was your daughter during this time?
She was at the house with my significant other at the time.
And when you got over there, what did you see when they took you to where the individual was arrested?
I saw that my car was completely totaled. It had spun off the road and hit a tree. And I saw the gentleman who had the gun, the young kid.
Was this the first robber or second?
The first.
Can you describe when you identified him, were you inside or outside of the patrol car?
I was outside.
And where was he?
He was outside because he was in cuffs.
And when you saw him, how confident were you that that was the same individual who robbed?
I was 100% confident it was him.
Ms. Hill, I'm going to publish what's already been admitted as 32 Victor first. I'm going to ask you if you recognize this photograph. Who is that, Ms. Hill?
That is Christian Eppinger.
And is that the individual who robbed you this day?
Yes.
You had also mentioned, Ms. Hill, seeing your car. So I'm going to approach and hand you what's been marked as 12 through 17 Victor. If any defense counsels want to see these, it's 12 through 17 Victor. Ms. Hill, please take a look at those, and when you're done, just look up at me.
Okay.
What are those, Ms. Hill?
Those are pictures of my car.
And how do you recognize them?
How do I recognize the car?
Yes. I know it's a silly question, but I have to ask.
Because it's my car. I mean,
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of your car that was on scene that day after it was wrecked?
yes.
Your Honor, the state moves to tender and evidence. States exhibits 12 through 17 Victor.
Any objection to states 12 through 17 Victor?
Objection.
All right, they're admitted, may be published as you see fit.
Thank you, Your Honor. Publishing 12 Victor. So, Ms. Hill, is that your Toyota Corolla?
Yes.
And the way that bumper is on the front, was it in that condition before you were out?
No, not at all. And even the contents in the car weren't even like that.
I'm gonna publish 13 Victor. Is that your vehicle back then, Ms. Hill?
Mm-hmm.
What are all, I see a lot of pink items, what are all those?
Some of those items we would give to like Goodwill, but they were in bags, so it just looks like they went through the bags and stuff that were in my trunk. Because normally, once a month we go to Goodwill and just drop off any items that we just didn't want anymore. So that's what those items were in the bag.
And I'm gonna publish also 14 Victor. When they took your car at gunpoint, did the passenger seat look like this as depicted in 14 Victor?
No, not at all.
I'm also gonna publish 15 Victor. Is that your backseat, Ms. L?
Yes.
And I'm gonna publish 16 Victor. Did your car have that damage before it was taken from you?
No.
I'm also gonna publish 17 Victor. Is that the way that your car looked when you got out there on scene?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Hill, did you ever get to drive that car again?
No.
What happened to that car?
It was taken away. The insurance company probably kept it, or I'm not sure what happened after that, but I couldn't drive it anymore.
And the items that were, did you ever get your laptop back?
Yes, I was able to retrieve the laptop, but the company had to, because they weren't able to get into it since it was a company laptop. But the company definitely had to disregard the laptop overall just because of, they didn't know, if they were able to get into it or whatnot. So,
And did you ever get back your purse and the items inside of it?
no.
Now, after all this took place, Ms. Hill, did you ever have any contact with the district attorney's office?
Yes, they kept me informed with what was going on with the case.
Did you ever provide input on what you would like to see happen with the case?
Yes.
And did you ever, were you present when the suspect pled guilty to that offense? Did you?
Yes.
What did you say when you went to court that day?
Objection, Roland, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Mr. Adams? Sir, I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Yes, Your Honor. Was it the end of the photograph you had, I showed you earlier, 18 Victor or Christian Eppinger, was that the individual that was in court that day when you were there?
Yes.
And after that day in court, did you ever see or hear about him again?
Yes.
How did you hear about him again?
I'm going to object to the hearsay, Your Honor.
Can we approach for a
Yes,
second,
Your Honor.
please?
You said that you knew exactly who it was. How did you know that exactly the individual that they had arrested was the person who robbed you at gunpoint?
Because I saw him when he robbed me at gunpoint.
And what is the main road that they had went out to after they left your mall drive?
I can't think of the actual main road at the time. I just can't think of it.
Were you ever able to observe or see your neighbor's son's reaction when this robbery happened?
Yes.
What was that
I'm
reaction?
going to object as to the relevance in hearsay.
So we had two objections. First one was from Mr. Adams, the second was from Mr. Matthews. I'm going to sustain the objection.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Hill, you kept referring to the first gunman as a kid. Why did you refer to him like that?
He was young. I mean, you could tell he was a kid.
And Did the second individual, did he seem a little bit, a lot, or how much older did he appear to be from your personal observations?
From my observation, he was in his late 20s, early 30s, the second individual.
How is your daughter doing this present day?
She's doing great, but she does remember everything that happened, but she's doing just fine.
Ms. Hill, after this happened on May 11, 2016, how much longer did you live at 245 Mall Drive?
I left that day. The day the incident happened, I moved that day
Why did you move, Ms. Hill?
because I just no longer felt safe in that neighborhood. Not only that, with them having all the contents of my information in that purse, I didn't know if they'd come back or, I just didn't feel safe any longer there for me or for my daughter.
Understand. Thank you, Ms. Hill. One brief moment, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. No further questions about the state. Thanks, Council. May have some questions.
Thanks, Judge. So good morning, man.
Good morning.
My name is Keith Adams. You and I have not met before, is that right?
That's correct.
You did have a chance, though, to speak to Brian Steele, gentleman who's sitting back there a little early this morning. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
All right. You talked with him, and then he asked you a few questions about the incident that occurred. By this time, it's about, 6.5, 7 years ago in 2016, right?
Yes.
All right. So I just have really just a couple questions.
Okay.
You would agree with me. This was a pretty terrifying incident that occurred on that day. Is that right?
Yes.
In fact, you called the police right when it happened.
Yes.
Right? You were terrified both for yourself and for your daughter.
Yes.
It would be fair to say, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that obviously you wanted Christian Eppinger to be caught for what he had done. Right?
Yes.
You didn't know him before that day, right?
That's correct.
You never met him.
That's correct.
As far as you know, he never met you. He certainly, Mr. Eppinger, had no reason in your mind to do what he did to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
It was about 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes or so after the incident that he was caught in your vehicle. Am I right about that?
Like I said, I wasn't sure the time. I wasn't calculating the time frame of.
It wasn't long.
Yeah, it didn't take too long.
And the police actually responded pretty quickly when 911 was called, right?
Yes.
They came, and you were in fact able to give them a description of this individual. Look, the person you keep referring to as a kid, right?
At the time, yes.
Right, and also somewhat of a description of the other guy who got out of the car as well.
Yes.
Now, Christian Eppinger, or the person you would later come to know as Christian Eppinger, walks up to you. He's got a gun, and he puts the gun to you, correct?
Yes.
The other guy did the same thing as well.
Yes.
Your car pulls off, and it's sometime after that, after you've spoken to the police, that you are taken to the location where your car, as you see, has been crashed or has been is off-road against a tree somewhere.
Correct.
In the pictures that we've seen.
Yes.
Christian Eppinger is outside of the car, right?
Yes.
He has obviously been arrested and caught by the police.
Yes.
And you recognized him right away.
Right away.
You recognized him because his face was, he was a kid. You recognized his size. You recognized what he looked like.
Yes.
The other person who had gotten out of the car early with the gun, you didn't see that person. He wasn't caught.
That person wasn't caught.
Okay. But if I'm correct, you actually saw that person. You would have actually recognized that person again.
I would.
Okay. All right. You are, I'm going to presume, someone who is attentive to detail and
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, Mr. Eppinger ultimately came to court on that case.
Yes, he did.
You came to court as well.
Yes.
You were present when he was convicted of that crime that he committed, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, that was back in, the incident happened in 2016, and it was sometime after that after he was caught, he came to court, and he was in fact held accountable for what he did to you.
That's correct.
All right. Now, I want to talk to you about today. You are here today in 2024, and you are testifying to this jury about what you remember from that day, correct?
Correct.
And then you have testified to the best of your recollection. You remember it pretty well.
Yes.
Now, I've asked you already whether you spoke to Mr. Steele. Ms. Steele and I work together, and we represent Jeffrey Williams. You know that.
Okay.
Okay. And do you know Jeffrey Williams?
I don't know him personally, no.
But you know who he is.
But yes.
You know that he is an entertainer.
Objection, Your Honor.
This is
Relevant.
a sustained objection.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get right to the point.
Okay.
Jeffrey Williams was not at your car holding a gun to you on the day this incident occurred, correct?
That's correct.
Right. You have no reason to tell this jury, no personal knowledge that Jeffrey Williams was in any form or fashion involved with your carjacking on that day, true?
That's correct.
Ms. Hill, that's all I have for you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
What else? Mr. Matthews?
Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Hill, good morning.
Good morning.
Carterton Matthews here. I represent Mr. Huey sitting right over here. You've had an opportunity to look about the courtroom over here, all the people that are sitting in this courtroom. In fact, Mr. Eppinger, you don't see him in this courtroom, right?
No. Yes.
And you don't see that older gentleman that you described as the second person that put this gun to you, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, none of these individuals that are seated in this courtroom, to the best of your knowledge, had anything to do with what happened to you back in 2016. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And at the time that you went through that particular ordeal, I think you indicated that when you became emotional and you began to cry, you didn't think that you would have to go back through having to rethink or relive this, correct?
That's correct.
That's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Hill, on cross-examination, you were asked about the other guys that were involved. How many people did you see in total that were involved when you were robbed?
In total, including Christian Eppinger, it was 4 individuals.
And did any of those other 2 that didn't get out of the car, did they do anything to conceal their identity that you saw?
They didn't do anything.
And you were asked on cross-examination about Christian Eppinger being held accountable. Do you remember that?
I do.
Did you advocate for a lesser sentence in reference to that?
I did.
I'm going to after the approach, please.
I'm sustained objection.
No need to approach, sir.
Ms. Hill, thank you very much. No further questions.
Okay, thank you.